Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. So I have a journal that I recently finished, and it has a center spread that I really like, and it's to me it's very unusual. I was just playing around and just came up with an interesting way. At least it seemed interesting to me to feature some papers for a center spread of a journal. It doesn't have to be a center spread. It can be something that can tuck into a signature, but let's have a look at it because I'd like to make another one today. And I'm using this one as a model for it, sort of as my idea book. But here it is. Move these out of the way. It is actually 2 pages that are stitched in here, and they're linked together with the stitching. And there's plenty of pockets here. Take out this little bit, and then this flips up, and then you've got journaling space underneath. I think it's kind of a spectacular center spread, and I've attached the sides. I haven't glued them together because, especially when you have heavier paper side by side in a signature, when you turn the page, it shifts a little bit. And if you glue them down too much together, they can sort of buckle. So I actually did not glue them together down here or up here. So technically, this could fall out, but it's not going to. I feel perfectly confident having this just be sort of a bottomless pocket, like French fries at Red Robin. I feel comfortable having that be open there and just leaving that play, that little bit of shifting that's going to happen there. The sides likewise are not glued together. They're just tied together through these little eyelets. So it's just kind of a fun, different little spread. You could see, I could easily, make it, inside a signature. So, they would, not be next to each other in that way. But I kind of like the drama of, both of these pages facing each other with this hidden journaling area here. And that journaling flap is held closed by the things that go into the little pockets here. So I think it's kind of a showpiece. So you can see I did lots of stenciling on it. I've got some stencils that I'm going to try, and let's just make one. Mine is going to be sort of a holiday theme. In fact, not just sort of a holiday theme, very much a holiday theme. But it certainly can have any theme or no theme at all. I'm going to set this journal aside. This is one I'm going to put in with the last art show that I'm doing for the weekend, or for the season, last craft show. For the paper for this, and for my prototype, and also for this one, I'm using, I guess you would call it a very lightweight cardstock. It's the kind of paper that could appear as the flyleaf, a heavy duty flyleaf in an old page. I was in an old book. I was at a estate sale recently, and the gentleman that had lived in the house was a printer and had all kinds of paper samples. So I was very fortunate to be able to take home some of his samples of different kinds of bookmaking papers. But I'm going to start, not surprisingly, by choosing 2 of these papers and just folding them in half, and they're going to nest together. These are just the 9.5 or 8.5 by 11, so will go very nicely into what are very standard size journals for many of us. Now, I'm not going to be actually stitching through these on this video, because that will happen when they actually get stitched into a journal. But I am going to be working with the 2 pages together. I guess you could do it with a thinner style paper, but I think this just works really really well. So I'm glad that I have a whole pack of this of this paper. I'm going to ink the center crease mainly so that you can see it on camera a little more easily. This is an older paper, so there may be a little bit of crackling here, but it's not what I would call brittle. You could use, you know, a kind of a scrapbook paper if it was fairly lightweight. And yeah, that ought to be visible for you. Yes, I think it will. And the next thing I'm going to do, which is the main architectural feature of this center spread, is to fold the upper corners down, and I'm going to bring them almost to that center fold, but not quite. I've left just a very, very small gap here between that paper's edge and the center fold, which is going to be part of the spine. Let's bring this down here. And do the same thing on the left side. Our stitching is going to be right here, and that's going to hold these two pages together. And let's get out our stencils. Well, we're going to be doing a lot of inking here. I'm going to set my back page aside and to get out my distress ink. My vintage photo that I recently re-inked, so I'm hoping that's going to be a little bit juicier for me than it has been in the past. So I'm filming ahead because my week after Thanksgiving is going to be really busy. I've got the arts and crafts show. I've got a big holiday party for the nonprofit that I'm part of. So I'll be doing some baking. I found a recipe for, I'll link it if it's anything you're interested in, a recipe for, what do they call it? Cheesy hot pepper bites. I signed up for this party to bring a plate of savory snacks and a plate of sweet snacks. And yeah, since we're sort of all in a holiday mood right now, I'll link the recipe. It is something I found online. They're just like little, they're like little biscuits, little crunchy biscuits with chopped sharp cheddar cheese in them. And a little bit of spice, a little bit of paprika, and then they're like thumbprint cookies, but you fill that impression with hot pepper jelly, which I thought, yes, that sounds so tasty. And I made a plate of them for the friend's house that we went to for Thanksgiving, and they turned out so good. I thought, I'm taking them to my little snacky potluck. I'm going to ink the top of this because this is going to be showing. I'll do my stenciling, and then I'll do the little bit of join on the sides, and then we'll decorate it, and I've got the tags ready to stuff the pockets with. Anyway, it's going to be a busy week ahead. But I'm glad for that. Plenty of time for me to film and get my baking and my things attended to. That's the beauty of creating content for YouTube, is you can really do it on your own schedule. Okay, here's the back page, and here's the top surface. I think I'm going to be doing, ink these. And then I'll pull out some stencils. I have some holiday stencils here. Yeah, I'm not loving this as a stencil. I have another tied them together just because I didn't want to make a huge mess. I got a pack not long ago that I ordered online. I kind of like this swirly one. It kind of looks like wallpaper to me. And I don't know why I'm wanting to keep all of these together, but is that going to be big enough? It's not going to be big enough to completely cover this triangle, so I might have to bring out this one. Oh, Anne, just take it apart. I don't know why I thought, I see people that organize their stencils putting them on little rings, you know, those little metal rings, and I don't happen to have any extras of those sitting around right now, so I thought I'll put some yarn in there, and it's tangled up like it's a kitten's fur. There we go. Let's go back to this choice and see if I can cover. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be okay. I did want to use one of the new ones. A little scrap page, and shall I do green? I think I might want to do green here. So this is a Distress Ink Mowed Lawn. And this kind of look like wallpaper. Not that it needs to look like wallpaper, but kind of like the idea of that. I wonder if I can, oh, I didn't do a very good job there, did I? Let me line that up again. Get a little bit more there. That doesn't look too, yeah, it's blank here and here. I rather than trying to line it up to make that a wall-to-wall stenciling, I think I'm going to say that is fine. I really, really like doing stenciling, and I do think a set of inexpensive reusable stencils is a very, very good thing to have in your craft supply kit. They're super easily available online. I sometimes find them at thrift stores. I don't think I've ever worn one out. But they help you give a really spectacular design that fills a nice big blank space. And it's perfectly flat. It's not going to add more bulk to your journal. So I really, if you don't happen to have stencils around, you know, you probably have your Distress ink anyway. If you don't have any of your stencils around, I would recommend investing in some. And honestly, like that whole little 10-pack that I got, I think it was $5 or something like that. Let's continue stenciling. I want to put a little bit of stencil on the inside of our flap, our little secret journal spot. And let's put some of these dots there. And with this one, I can just use my little distressing tool. Some people might not like using that on stencils. They might think it's a little bit hard on on the sponge of your blending tool, which it probably is, but to be honest, this sponge is about ready to be replaced anyway, so I'm not worried too much about keeping it in its showroom new condition. All right, so that's showing, that's showing. Now I want to get some kind of decoration back here. I'm going to have tags in these pockets, but I still would like to decorate those corners in our back page. So I could go with that wallpapery stuff again, but I think I would like to have something maybe a little different. This kind of looks like outside. And I'm afraid that my blending tool, because it might not play really well with this particular stencil, since there's all these like little parallel pieces of acetate. There's a lot more movement going on there. So I'm just going to put a little splotch of some design up here. I'm not going to fill the whole space. I've not used this one before. Boy, that barely shows. Put a little more ink. I feel like I'm like I'm scrubbing, like it's, you know, inside my bathtub or something like that. But this particular stencil, I just feel like there's going to be lots of movement with those little acetate strips. That's okay. Maybe I can get this one a little bit better. I want the two different sides to be somewhat parallel, somewhat symmetrical, I guess. A different color might have been a little bit better here, but I do think this tool, well, I don't know, I guess I could, if I was going to go like that, I guess I could bring that in. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be my favorite stencil though, but you know, it'll be fine. It will be fine. I think I'm going to do my inking around the outside of this backing piece, because this is going to be its own page in the journal. So I want it to have a little distressing around the sides, around the edges. Anyway, Dan is planning, we're looking at the forecast among all the other things going on in the week ahead, because we need to put up Christmas lights. We are not a putting up Christmas lights sort of household. In fact, in my adult life, I don't think I've ever put lights out outside my house. Isn't that shocking? It just seems like something every adult should have done. But Christmas lights outside, you know, on the shrubs, you know, attached to the house. It's just something I've never done. I've actively avoided that hassle, I guess. I've always decorated a Christmas tree and put that in the front window and sort of had that serve as a holiday decoration. But, you know, we always have people over on Christmas Eve, and I thought, oh, Anne, you can decorate more than just with the Christmas tree. So anyway, we invested in some lights and learned about the different sizes of lights, and we didn't spend that much. We're just going to put them on the front porch. But we are looking forward to that day. Okay. There we go. These are going to fit together like this. And I think it's time that we joined them, don't you? I'm going to bring out just a couple of paper clips to hold them in place, because I'm going to do the joins with on the sides here. And I think I'm going to put a paper clip here. And one here. Let me do the other side. So many paper clips. There we go. Anyway, so that's going to be just so super exciting for the Kenlins that we're actually going to put up outside Christmas lights. I don't know why it just always seemed like it was expensive. It turned out it's not really that expensive. We're not doing a big elaborate thing. Maybe I feel, you know, we have solar panel in the house now. We got solar energy in the house now. We put in solar panels a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago. And maybe I feel better about, you know, having Christmas lights up now that we have the solar panels. I don't know. I just know that's what I felt like suggesting to Dan this year, and he readily agreed. Okay, let's mark the spots for our little holes. I've cut little, these are just off of a scrap of scrapbook paper, and I've punched those. Those are 3/4 inch circles, and I could use, why is this plugged up? There we go. I'm going to put that here, get a little bit closer to the edge, because I am going to be putting twine through them and tying on the side. There we go. And let's do the other side while we're here. I am going to be putting these on the backs, but I'm going to be punching the holes all the way through first. Is that lined up fairly evenly? Here so you can see it too. There we go. And I don't want them all lined. I want them a little bit off kilter. Don't want the plaids just being lined up in a regimented manner. There we go. Now I'll bring out, I'm going to just eyeball the center here and the center here. And get out my punch. Now I got a lot of stuff under my desk here. And I'll be able to see that little pencil mark from the side here. And the other way. I don't know. This whole structure, this whole assembly was one of those things that came to me in the middle of the night, and perhaps other people have done this before. I was probably inspired subliminally by something else I saw, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was. Okay, now I can see where this is, and I'll bring my punch back. There might be a easier way to do this. I guess I could have punched the holes through the little additional circles before I glued them on and lined them up that way. Maybe I'll do that on the other side. Just using that original hole as a little guide or a little template. There. that worked pretty good. However, just to show you a different way, I'll bring in these, my last 2 circles here. And we'll see if I can hold them underneath here to get them punched. Oh, that's okay. It's a little fiddly to reach my finger in there, but either way works. This is exactly the 2nd time I've done this project, so I have not patented the process. Here we go. So we're getting these little hole reinforcers here on either side of this little paper sandwich. I think this, the other thing this project is doing for me is reminding me, I really should make an idea book. I think in the year ahead, you're going to be seeing me working on creating an idea book, because the book, the journal that I showed you when we first sat down, that kind of became the idea book because I liked that center spread so much. I wanted to recreate it, so I turned back to that. And I thought, gosh, this is just how Gail and other fine crafters must use their idea book. So I find I recreate old ideas by, sort of referencing, going back and scrolling through pictures that I've taken, pictures on my camera roll. And, it really would be nicer to just go through an idea book, wouldn't it? So tell me, do you have idea books that you save some of your craft ideas on? How do you reference old things you've done before that you want to recreate? I have a couple of ideas for ways ideas for an idea book, but that's a different video. Okay. Hope I cut this twine long enough. I used a different kind of thread for the other one, but I wanted to use this really rustic twine here. You know what? I don't like those bows. I'm going to just do knots so that this twine can just sort of be sticking out the side. You could use a very narrow ribbon. Use whatever's going to suit your theme, your feel, your aesthetic, your zeitgeist. We're almost ready to get this little guy decorated up. Will it make it into a holiday journal for this season? I don't know. Depends on how efficient I am with my baking this week ahead, to see if I have time to craft anything else before this craft show. All right, this is really going together very quickly. I think when I made the first one, I did more fiddling and thinking and, deciding to stencil here and stencil there. And with this one, I had already decided I was going to do the stenciling. So I think that's where having an idea book would be useful. It can sort of remind you of the things that you need to make decisions about, or that you don't have to make decisions about because you already thought them through once. It's part of having an established process. Fumbly fingers here. All right, there's our twine. And I do like the idea of just joining these 2 pages together with this tie. They're going to be, once again, they will be joined when you've stitched your signature together. But for now, the only place that they're joined is on the side. And so they can, there's just a little bit of slippage that happens, a little bit of sliding that happens, and it doesn't, nothing's going to buckle because it's going to allow for that sort of slippage. It's minuscule. You can see a little bit of this this page sticking through on this side, but when I pull it back like this, it's right up next to each other. Anyway, let's get this decorated, and then we'll see how the inserts for the pockets that we'll put down here are going to help keep these flaps shut, but easy to, you know, look at that little journaling space. That's just going to be so cute. We've done our stenciling, so I'll set these aside, and I'll bring in the pieces that I have prepped from having looked at my idea book. What do I do with them now? Here they are. These take great big tags. So these are big kind of gaudy holiday tags, but that's sort of what I wanted. Let's put these pockets down first. I didn't, I'm getting these right there. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut down the tops of these. I made these just a little bit too tall. But that's all right. That is all right. It's just paper. It's easy to cut. So I stamped roses on these. Kind of makes me think of the Christmas rose. There we go. And that still has a little bit of an indentation there. I don't think I need to repunch that. These are just book pages that I have bent over, you know, an old greeting card. I'll look and see. I might repunch that little thumb notch, but maybe not. I always look at it and say, I'm fine with that. Then I go and ahead and redo it anyway. Yep, I'm fine with it. I really am not going to redo it. All right, let's get these pockets down. I you know, took the old little piece of old greeting card and just applied some book page on top with little extensions on the sides to form gussets. I don't always do that with pockets, but I did with this. With this set. All right, I'm going to get this pretty close to the bottom. I don't want it to be just flush with the bottom. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Give enough clearance there. Oh, look at that. I've picked up some of that red ink. And I made these like an hour ago, but that gessoed surface, the ink still hadn't dried. So I've smeared it, well, it's just a little bit of a blush there. I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's a good reminder that a gessoed surface can create a longer dry time. When I press this down, I'll put a piece of paper over it. I won't smear it quite as much. Yeah, that's not really too bad. If I felt like I wanted to, I could add a little bit of red or pink with a blending tool on the other pocket, but I'm not going to worry about that now. Now, here, these are great little pocket stuffers. You've seen me make these before. This is a little foldable journal card. It's just two sheets of book page with some journaling space glued on and folded into a trifold. And these are my little, what I call 1, 2, 3 embellishments. I have links to both of these things, and so I'll try to, I will put those in the description box below if you're interested in how I made these little inserts and these little embellishments. So nice how this keeps this. What wonderful secrets are you going to write in there? Room for so much journaling just in this spread. And let's put our big showy, here they are, tags in here with their big showy gingham pulls at the top. There we go. And those are going to tuck perfectly in there. It doesn't matter at all that this is open. They're not going to, they're going to be in a book. They're not going to fall through any more than they would if you had had a belly band around them. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm just going to have to just sit here and just look at it for a while. Yeah, it'll be, again, once it's inserted into a signature, you'll have stitched through the spine, and so that's going to keep these two sheets together. They're held together with these little eyelets. Well, they're not eyelets, these little hole reinforcers on the side. And then we have a beautiful page here. We'll turn, you have this beautiful spread, and then a beautiful page on the back. Oh, I hope you make something like this. If you do, let me know. Definitely going into an idea book because it's one I want to make certain that I do again and again. I hope you will too. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon.